Okay, first of all, I think I said in the last video, they've been tearing up my street, doing all this construction for the Pope coming. I've been waiting for them to go on lunch break, and it really doesn't seem like they're gonna stop anytime soon. So I'm really sorry for that noise. It seems far away. I'll put some music over this video, but I want to make a video about... With my last video, I received like a lot of feedback, people asking me questions like, I live blah blah blah, what's a good tattoo artist in my area? I've been trying to answer a lot of them, but I've been getting a lot of them. So I wanted to make a video where I talk about tips for choosing a tattoo artist. And my biggest critique on my last video is that I talk too slow and my videos are too long. I'll try to make this quick, but at the same time, I feel like I talk very conversationally. I'm not trying to make a presentation. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you guys. So if you're kind of like, let's get to the good part, you know, I just want to speak naturally. So I have some tips in mind. They're a little unorganized, obviously, but yeah, so I want to get started. I think that the first thing you need to do when you're looking for an artist is branch out, reach out of your city. I think Instagram is a great tool. For me, when I first started getting tattooed, there was no Instagram. Were there iPhones? I don't know. And some tattoo shops had very poorly Angel Fire websites where you could look at a couple pictures of their portfolio. But it used to be you had to go to the shop and look at the tattoo artist's portfolio and pick something. Now, it's 2015, you can shop around, you can get your perfect tattoo, and that's what I recommend. I say get out of your neighborhood, unless you live in New York, and look for other artists. I think when you're looking for an artist, the first thing, well, a couple things, no order. If you find somebody you like, you know, follow them. Follow them on Instagram, keep track of them, scroll to their very first post, you know, see if they developed, if they grow. If you scroll back a year and their tattoos are like okay, and then they get better, that's perfect. You want to get tattooed by somebody who's growing, who's changing, developing. If they're posting a lot of pictures that they paint, if they're painting often, if they're practicing, you know, sometimes it's better to get tattooed by somebody who's only been tattooing for 5 years, but they are like noticeably progressing, rather than somebody who's like, yeah, I've been tattooing for 10 years, I don't need to practice anymore. I think that art is something that grows and changes and manifests, and you can learn from so many different people. And I respect somebody who is always trying to get better, always improving, changing their locations, traveling. I really like that. You know, as a hairstylist, like, I always want to learn the new thing. I always want, you know, to give the newest thing to my clients. So I'm not saying I want that from a tattoo artist, but I recognize the responsibility in, like, owning your craft and changing for trends and changing for different art styles, and that's amazing. That's something I really like to see in an artist. Another thing I like is, you know, well, a red flag is if you're on their Instagram and they're saying things that are rude or things like that, things that are you don't like, you don't have to be tattooed by them. You know, if they're posting content that you don't like, if they're hunting, for example, and you're like, oh, I don't like, don't get tattooed by them. Don't wear their product, you know. And you also want to find somebody who is grounded, or by grounded I kind of mean, because a lot of my tattoo artists who tattoo me like tour, and I really like that. But if you're looking for somebody, you know, some of the questions to ask are, do you plan on staying at the shop for a while? Are you going on tour soon? Are you moving away? Because if you get tattooed by somebody and all of a sudden they're going to England for the summer, what if your tattoo's unfinished? Then you have to wait. So good questions are like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But more like, oh, you know, are you going on tour this summer? What are your plans for the winter? Because I was tattooed by somebody who I never thought to ask those questions because I was being tattooed by them regularly. And, you know, one day I made an appointment with their shop for him, and they were like, yeah, he's not here anymore. Do you know where he is? And I was like, what? Why would I know? And they were like, because we don't know either. And I had unfinished work by him. And, you know, luckily I was able to ask around and find out when he was coming back, but that made me uncomfortable. I don't like doing stuff like that. So from now on, I usually ask tattoo artists, like, what's up? Or, you know, honestly, I usually just say, like, what are your plans? Or I get small tattoos that we can finish in one day. I think another thing when you're looking for your tattoo artist is to make a consultation. And I understand, like, the tattoo artists live far away and you're not always lucky enough to be able to go to their shop twice in a week and talk to them. But for example, one of my favorite tattoo artists is in Montreal, and during our consultation it was through email. And honestly, like, ask your tattoo artist for their phone number, for their shop's number, see if you can text them, if you can email them, like, talk back and forth and, like, solidify what you want. I remember back and forth, her and I, when I got my wolf tattoo, I had sent her a picture of my leg next to a ruler so we could, like, really get it done. And of course later I was like, can she read this ruler? She's from Canada. But anyway, like, that wasn't hard for me to take a picture of my leg with a ruler, but it gave me that peace of mind that I was like, yeah, I'm getting the tattoo that I want, even if I'm kind of embarrassing myself. But email back and forth, you know, exchange ideas, ask for a rough sketch. I often cannot get a hold of my tattoo artist in person until the day of my tattoo, but there's so many different outlets for you to communicate with your tattoo artist. And if they're not responsive to you, if they don't want to exchange emails, if they don't want to talk to you on the phone, there you go. You don't have to be tattooed by them. If they don't want to accommodate you or, like, settle your nerves or put you at ease, or they're not enthusiastic to exchange with you, then you already know that that's not your artist for you. I also think another important thing is tour dates. If you're keeping track with your artist on Instagram, or if you're on their email list, you know, if they're posting tour dates, grab them while you can. Like, my tattoo artist from Montreal, when she came to Philly, when she came to New York, I was on that. I was the first appointment. But, you know, tattoo conventions, if you live near a big city, you can usually catch an artist there. I do recommend doing your research, though. I don't think that you should go to a convention blindly. I think that you should still traditionally contact the artist, make an appointment, tell them what you want, speak to them as much as you can. I think that communication is key. Like, you wouldn't go to your doctor's office and be like, do whatever. You have to tell them, like, this is my problem, this is what I want done. And it's the same thing. And why not build a relationship with your tattoo artist, you know? See what they like, bring them a gift, talk to them, talk about what they like. I got an ask on Tumblr yesterday that was like, hey, I want to get tattooed by this tattoo artist, but I heard that he can be a prick. And I was like, you know, if you feel nervous about being tattooed by somebody, then figure them out, break the ice, you know? I think tattooing can be like a very meticulous thing, and people want to do it to the best of their ability. And if it seems like they're kind of shy or off-putting, be like, hey, I saw the thing on Instagram you posted about fly fishing. What's that like? That's cool. Talk about it. Or find an artist that already has things in common with you. one of my favorite tattoo artists. He loves Morrissey, he's vegan, he travels the country, he likes the same music as me, and whenever I sit down and get tattooed by him, I feel like I'm hanging out with an old friend. So, I mean, I think most of this, I feel like what I'm saying is go on Instagram, but at the same time, research shops. There are, like, East River Tattoo specializes in these beautiful black and gray tattoos, and if that's what you like, just research the shop, see what you like. Go through, find the artists you like, and, you know, find the style that means the most to you. I think that travel can be a really big, important part of getting the tattoo you want. I'm lucky because I live really centrally. I live in Philadelphia, so I can get to New York, I can get to Richmond, I can get where I like to get tattooed. But I say if boundary is the hardest part, if you want to be tattooed in your neighborhood, make it an adventure. Like, I almost love when people ask me, like, oh, where'd you get your tattoos done? And I'm like, I travel for them. It gets me out of the house. Which is actually 100% true. I have a really hard time traveling to New York. It makes me really nervous. Going on the bus makes me nervous, the crowds. What if I get lost? The train is so different. But I push myself out of my comfort zone to go to New York to get the tattoo that I know I want and that I know I love. And I think if you live near a megabus, if you want to take a road trip, like, get your tattoo that you want. That's the best advice I give to people. And at my old coffee shop, one of my coworkers drove 3 hours to go to his favorite tattoo artist, and he was like, that was so worth it. And now they have a great relationship. I think that it can be incredible to go and travel for these tattoos because, I mean, I have friends in New York, but they're not always there, and I don't think that I would ever subject myself to the city if I didn't have to go. But that doesn't mean that I don't do my research in Philadelphia as well. I have a hard time getting tattooed in Philly, but you know, I have found a couple artists that I really like, and some of that comes from Googling tattoo shop in Philadelphia. And there are a couple of things I look for, like, does the shop have an Instagram? Does the shop market itself well? Do they have social media? Is their portfolio available for me to immediately look at? And that doesn't mean that 5 years ago I wouldn't drive to a shop and physically look at their portfolio, but as I get older, I'm so much more nervous to do stuff like that. When I was 18 and I had a car, I was like, let's fucking go. But now I'm like, do you have a website? Do you have a Twitter? And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can order pizza online. Why can't you check out your artist portfolio online? Why can't you direct message them? And I think that that's all really normal and expected. I'm not trying to say don't get tattooed by someone who doesn't have an online presence, but I think that it really helps 100%. I can't stress enough, your experience will be so much more successful, so much more what you want if you make an appointment and if you take the time to research your tattoo artist. I never recommend walk-ins. I never recommend blindly walking into a shop. Even if you're just like, I just want a tattoo of an uppercase K. Figure it out. Make an appointment. Maybe you can get somebody who used to be a typographer. One of my tattoo artists is a sign painter, and I specifically go to him for all of my text tattoos because he's the best at it. Because that's his job. And it's so interesting to me to find that little thing out about him. Like, oh my god, you make signs? Tattoo me. Like, figuring stuff like that out is amazing. And I say, don't be discouraged if you contact your tattoo artist and they say no to your first idea, especially if it's your first tattoo. Maybe mention that. Be like, hey, this is my first tattoo and these are a couple of my ideas. And I say, bounce ideas off of each other. Don't stay so set in your one idea. If you're like, I want a dolphin jumping over the moon, and your tattoo artist is like, oh, well, you know, maybe we can incorporate some water, maybe it's a full moon, maybe it's a half moon, I don't know. I say listen to your tattoo artist. I remember for the longest time I wanted a tattoo of a compass, and I wanted it in my arm. And when I contacted my tattoo artist about it, he was like, a circle right there is gonna look so weird. We can't do it. And I remember walking around the house, like, he said no to me, that's all I ever wanted, I wanted a compass, because that meant something to me. And then I sat down and I was like, yeah, that is weird. And he knows better, because he probably put a circle on somebody 5 years ago and they hated it. So don't think that your tattoo artist hasn't been through it and that they don't have the experience of messing up and having to do trial and error. I mean, they went through an apprenticeship and they made their mistakes, so they know exactly what they're doing. I always take my tattoo artist's advice. I always bounce ideas off of them. And it's great to build a relationship with them and not be nervous and say no, or say, can we make that bigger? Can we make it smaller? And your tattoo artist will tell you, like, let's not put your tattoo here. Let's put it here. And your tattoo artist is right. Like, I had a tattoo artist who, what were we doing? We were doing a rose, and he was like, it can't point that way because then it'll be backwards. And I was like, oh, you're smart. And it's true, take their advice. I think one thing to be mindful of is deciding, do you want all of your tattoos done by the same person, or do you want them done by a lot of different people, or do you want just your arm done by somebody? Because I would mention that right away, like, hello, I really like your stuff, I'm getting one tattoo today, but I would like to get a lot of tattoos by you in the future. That way they can plan it out, because if you're not getting one large tattoo like me, like, it's kind of like a puzzle that they have to figure out and put things ever so slightly. And I tell my tattoo artists, like, I'm gonna get this tattooed by you, and then next time can you do this spot for me too? And I think that's helpful, and you can build that relationship with your tattoo artist and they can see their work develop and grow on you. One of my best friends, almost 100% of her body is tattooed by just one person. And I think that's amazing that she can have this full Brad Stevens bodysuit and walk around and just be a walking representation of his art. It's amazing. People stop her everywhere and they're like, oh my god, who does your tattoos? That's crazy. And she can just be like, Brad Stevens, everything. And I think that's great. Or plan to get a lot of tattoos done by people. Have a bucket list, like, oh, I know I'm gonna get tattooed by this person and I can't wait until they come into my state or on my side of the country or in the United States, because I have tattoo artists from other countries that I'm just sitting back and waiting, like, behind my knee, 2017, it's happening. So be patient, know what you want, and I don't want to discourage people asking me, like, I live in Tampa, Florida, who should tattoo me? Because I'm like, I know some people in Florida that I would love to get tattooed by, but I did the research and I found them and they stuck out to me. But I have a very specific tattoo in my mind, a tattoo style in my mind that I want. I like thick lines, I like color, bold imagery, but there's so many different tattoo styles out there. If you like somebody subtle and you ask me for a recommendation and I give you somebody bold, then that takes all the fun out of it. I love finding new tattoo artists and I love following them and checking out their pictures and seeing what they're up to, seeing where they're going. I think it's great and I like to connect with them, and I welcome everybody to do the same. If there's something I didn't cover, let me know and I'd love to help you out. And I don't think this video is only applicable for people who have no tattoos yet. I think everybody should watch this video and be like, yeah, those are some good points. Or agree with me. Be like, hey, I did that. I waited for so-and-so to come to my city and it was the best decision ever. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if there's something I didn't answer. And yeah, I'd love to get back to you and hear your feedback. And this turned into a long video, but I don't think I said or like that many times. So yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and yeah, hit me up. Bye!